I carry 2 bars on my back at all times. One's for triceps, one's for biceps. Damn, you're ugly. The Henry Cavill Witcher workout. We are really excited about this one. We had previously done Henry Cavill's Superman workout. We're big fans of it. He used a lot of Olympic lifts and it really pushed us to our limits. You can see why he's such a buff dude, because he works his ass off. And the Witcher workout is no different. This one is not the same as a Superman. It's not going to be using any Olympic style lifts, but what's really exciting is him and his trainer actually have the footage of them preparing online, which is pretty rare. Sometimes it can be hard to find out what these people are using to get into shape, but Henry and his trainer, huge props to them, they actually show you online. So we're basically just gonna be going through their workout, same sets, same reps, same exercises, and letting you know how we feel, how it pushed us. So let's get this started. Yeah. So the first exercise on the list is going to be the Romanian deadlift. Now, this exercise is really concentrating on the eccentric contraction, the negative, the way down, and Henry and his trainer really talk about taking your time with this, really focusing on that time of retention. So we're going to be focusing on a 4-second descent with a 2-second hold, and then raising it to the top position before the next rep. But not only that, we're also going to be utilizing a band, and the band is going to be around your thighs. What this is really going to force is you're going to have to externally rotate your thighs to keep that proper positioning. So there's a lot of activation, extra activation, in utilizing not only the tempo, the time under tension, but also the band as well. And they talk about really training the posterior chain in this particular exercise for a lot of stunt work, glute activation, hip. If you're doing sword fights, you need a lot of that power in your hips, and this is an excellent exercise to be able to do that. So we're going to be doing 3 sets of 10 reps. So the band is just about mid-thigh. So again, you want to keep that external rotation so that your knees don't buckle in. So externally rotate out and keep that. It's going to create a lot of tension, especially in the gluteus medius area. And you're going to be performing a standard RDL after that, which is going to be starting in the top position. You're going to do a 4-second descent. Just count in your head. Now go as low as you can. Feel a nice stretch in the hamstrings. 2-second hold. And then explosively bring it up to the top position. So one thing they talk about, and we've talked about this in the past, of programs are designed for a specific reason. And one thing Henry's trainer talks about is that they really are relying on this time under tension to fatigue the muscles without really putting too much stress on the central nervous system and the adrenal glands, because he's having long days shooting, fight scenes, being on set, so you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to have that overtraining syndrome, and then that's really going to be pretty detrimental to a long hour shoot, days after days, not only training but also being on set and performing stunts. So they're really programming specifically for Henry. And that's what's kind of cool, trying these new things to see how they feel, even though it might not be specifically for you, but even kind of taking something away from it and be like, this is something I want to implement in my own training, because not only do I like it, but I also don't want to really put a lot of stress on my central nervous system, because maybe I'm performing in another sport, or I'm just athletic, or I'm on my feet all day, or whatever it is. So you want to get a lot out of your workouts, but just not overdo it. In today's day and age, you have the glitz and the glamour of taking on a role such as Geralt, but there's a lot of hard ass work involved too, because not only do you gotta remember those lines, you gotta be on your feet, you gotta have that physique. If anything, it's becoming harder and harder because you have to look like these characters. If you've played the video game, you know what the world of The Witcher is like, and those are pretty lofty expectations, so you have to be on your game. And props to Henry, because obviously he's came up to the task. I originally thought of Christopher Lambert as Geralt, the voice and everything. So the second exercise is going to be hyperextensions. Again, working on the posterior chain. In this sense, it's trying to isolate as much as possible, get your lower back, your glutes, a little bit in the hamstrings. And Henry and his trainer, they use a glute ham raise machine, but we don't have one, so we kind of DIY'd it. And what you want to do in this one is you're really going to be extending, as the name is, or hyperextending, although it's not really focusing on hyperextension so much, because you're extending here, and a hyperextension is going past that and going all the way up
hence the name Hyperextension. So really just focusing on trying to get as parallel as possible. With the 2-second hold, get a nice squeeze, and then lower yourself down to the bottom position, all in a controlled manner. But you'll really feel these in your glutes, but also a lot in your rector spinae muscles, which is the lower back muscles that run alongside the spine there. And again, talking about stunts and footwork, sword fighting, that's again why they train in these type of movements, is to really strengthen that posterior chain and really working on the glutes, because the glutes will give a lot of stability to the knees and the hip joint. So that way when you're twisting and you're turning and you're fighting, there's gonna be no injuries that happen, because if you have those muscles that support and strengthen the joints, well, then they're gonna be a lot safer than if those muscles weren't there to help support the structure. So we're gonna be doing 3 sets of 10 reps.
I, like a lot of other Americans, was introduced to the Witcher series through the Witcher 3 video game. And it made it even more impactful for me because my wife, who was actually dating at the time, let me know, hey, this is based on a series, a very popular fantasy series in Poland, which is where she's from. So that was a little bit of a connection right there. Me and her actually played and beat the game together during her first pregnancy, and that was some damn good times. And I think that's part of the problem, is because games have gotten so good that you get so attached to those characters, their likeness, their storylines. It's really damn hard when you see a film, the expectations are just insanely high because you have all those memories and you're thinking, man, you gotta live up to this. So I have high hopes for the show, but it's gonna be tough because that game is damn good. I mean, I could go for a Witcher 4 right about now. Oblique static holds. Looks simple, but of course doing it 30 seconds each side adds up pretty fast. And you really begin to feel it. As you can tell, a lot of these are based upon what you're probably gonna need to do. If you're on your feet a lot, you're being very active, and of course, holding up things such as a heavy sword, you want a strong core, and this is definitely gonna help you with that.
Some of the things to keep in mind when performing an exercise like this is, one, you wanna take a decently wide stance to help your base of support. But as you push the weight out in front of you, you wanna keep right in line with your sternum area, middle chest to sternum area, with not completely locked out arms, a slight bend in the elbows, but really keep the shoulders down and back to really just kind of support and stabilize your whole upper body. Really squeeze your glutes as well, because that's going to really help not only activate them, of course, but again, stabilization. And when you're holding that weight out in front of you, you're gonna feel your oblique in the transverse abdominis really contract to help hold that weight in that position. With the isometric contraction, you know, when you think about that, it's neither lengthening nor shortening the muscle. It's really just keeping the muscle in constant tension.
We were kind of witchers too. We took jobs for hire growing up. We were sheetrockers. That was pretty prestigious. Paid the bills, kept the lights on, and we were using our shoulders all the time. So this applies not only in sword fighting, but in real life too. So if you do manual labor, such as hanging sheetrock, this is a great exercise. And may you get out of hanging sheetrock as soon as you can.
And with this, it's basically doing a shoulder raise in 3 slightly different angles. One is going to be straight out laterally, the next one is going to be slightly a bit more forward, and the last one is going to be a standard front raise. And they're talking about more Henry's trainers like really trying to train with that muscular endurance of the shoulders, but also again trying to support that joint as much as possible for any kind of functional type of movements that you'll be performing. Whether that be if you're Henry as the Witcher, Geralt, or even outside if you're doing sports, if you're just doing any activities, you know, if you're painting your ceiling. I mean, a shoulder strength and mobility and really overall health is going to be important no matter what you do in life. So something that's going to strengthen the muscles in the shoulder and really support the shoulder joint in general is always going to be a good thing.
Great reason why you want to keep those weights light, because doing the equivalent of 30 reps, you're feeling it big time. Barely was able to make that. You don't want to get too heavy, and then all of a sudden you're swinging those weights up, your form is off, you're a little bit more prone to injury, and you're not getting the full benefits of the exercise. So there's no shame in going light, because it still works.
Last exercise is going to be the iso curls. Now this is actually One of my favorite bicep exercises, particularly because it's working in an isometric contraction, but also the eccentric and concentric contraction, and it's done in an alternating manner. So there's a lot going on in this, but really it's just isolating the biceps. You'll feel a little bit in the forearms, but mainly it's in the biceps. So you're essentially taking the dumbbells at this 90-degree angle. You're gonna be bringing one down, back up to the top position, holding it in isometric contraction, and then going to the next side. So it's a pretty continuous movement, as you can see, but your arm that's not going through the eccentric and concentric contraction, it has to hold that weight into position. So much like a lot of this program is showing, there's a lot of time under tension stuff, and this is no exception here. So you get a really good burn in there, but also a massive pump in the biceps, and again, it's training in that muscle endurance as well. Oh yeah. Definitely a top favorite for sure. And I think it's a perfect way to end this workout and performing something like this. Get your legs, your posterior chain, and of course your arms too. So it's a lot of good exercise, a lot of good movements, and you still get the arm pump, baby.
That wraps up the Witcher workout. Huge thanks to Henry Cavill and his trainer. It's awesome that they made this workout readily available online. You can give it a shot yourself, see what you think. Personally, I think it's great. You're hitting the upper, the lower, a lot of movements that is gonna help you while you're on your feet. You may not be performing sword play, but if you're doing anything physical, it's definitely gonna help. So, Henry Cavill Superman, Henry Cavill Witcher, that's 2 out of 2. Both buff dudes approved. Until next time, how you like the taste of that silver?